It was senior year and our high school has a senior trip every year. Other schools have these too, I'm sure. My whole class, a whopping 23 students, started fundraising at the start of 8th grade year. Living in a remote town in Northern California, we decided as a class to go down to LA for a week. We decided to go see Venice Beach, Universal Studios and other such LA attractions. We stayed in a hotel right on Venice Beach. We got 2 rooms to ourselves, a boys' room and a girls' room. I got to stay in the girls' room because all the beds were taken in the boys' room. Me being the 6-foot tall motherfucker I am, whenever anybody wanted to go out to walk around, I would walk with them, because I'm polite. This is where things take a bad turn. One of the girls wanted to go out, so she asked me to come along. I agreed and went with her. Walking down the sidewalk next to the beach, her phone rang. It was her other friend wanting to chat, so she went to go talk to her. I sat down on the bench while she talked. I could still see her, of course, but she was far enough to be out of earshot. There are a few people around because it's LA and there are always people around. There was a man stumbling about. He had tattoos out of the ass and was scrawny and tall. He started yelling about how just because someone is in a club, that doesn't mean someone has a bigger dick. I was very confused and sure I was missing most of the story. He walked towards a couple that were at a table, and they said something and he walked away. Away from them, and towards me. I instantly tensed up because I've had almost zero fighting experience, and was not ready to deal with a drunk guy. He locked eyes with me, walked up to me, turned so that he was perpendicular to the way I was facing, and pulled out a knife. I froze. It wasn't really a knife. It was one of those X-Acto knives used in art and shit. I don't know what they're used for. I didn't care about the type of blade, just very aware that it would hurt if jammed into my neck. The girl was walking back by this time and saw him pull the knife. I looked at her and she started to walk towards the hotel, which was no more than 2 minutes away. He then proceeds to hold out his arm. This is when I noticed the track marks on his arm. He was a junkie. I instantly started thinking about what my final words would be. But instead of saying anything to me, he looks down at his hand. He starts mumbling about something, and I was too freaked out to worry about the semantics of a heroin ramble. He takes the knife and starts cutting the top of his hand. I can see the blood pour out of the first slice. My heart is no longer felt anywhere on my person. I stop breathing. My brain remembers that I do in fact have working legs. I get up and walk away towards the hotel. I get to the front door and there is the girl on her way down with the chaperones. They stop me and ask if I'm okay. I tell them what happened and that I wasn't hurt and everything's okay. I go up to the boys' room to hang out and I recount the story. They're all stoned and are talking about getting the pizza. I figure a pizza sounds good, so I order a pizza. The pizza was, in fact, good. When I was in the 8th grade, I went on a school trip that was called the Louisiana Tour. It was mostly going around to significant sites in South Louisiana. One of the places we went was Myrtle's Plantation, which is considered to be one of the most haunted places in the country. There are all kinds of stories about the place, but at one point we were standing in a room as a part of a larger group, and the tour guide was talking about something, I don't remember what. As I'm standing there, I start to hear what sounds like someone hitting a piano key. After I heard this a couple of times, I started to look around for the source of the noise. I didn't see a piano, but I kept hearing it. So I asked my friends who were standing near me if they heard it, and they said no. When I heard this again, I said there it is again, and that they must have heard it. They thought I was crazy. So I went back to looking around the room. Everyone's eyes were on the tour guide, except for one woman. She caught my eye and pointed at me, and then at her ear with a questioning look. I realised she was asking if I heard it too, and I nodded. At this point, the tour guide starts telling the story about a soldier who had died there, and that he played the piano and multiple guests had reported hearing him playing in the night. I honestly didn't know what to think. I guess I still don't. I talked to the woman as we were all leaving the room, and she had heard the exact same thing as me, but her husband and son had not heard it. So this happened back in 6th grade, and I think it's the closest I've ever come to dying. At the school I went to, we always used to have some big end-of-the-year field trip. We'd usually go to some city and look at all the important or historic buildings, have lunch, learn some shit and leave. That year we were going to New York, and me and a couple of friends planned out what we wanted to do. We wanted to go do our own thing, go shopping, get some new clothes, that kind of thing. Only when we got to school the next day, the teachers made it really clear we had to stick with the group. But since we were all stupid, rebellious 6th graders, we decided we'd just have to work around that. On the ride to New York, me, my friend Olivia, and my friend Devin decided we were going to leave the group and do whatever we wanted. Our class was pretty big, almost 60 of us, because they put 5th, 6th and 7th grade together. So we thought if we weren't gone too long, nobody would notice. We had brought money and we planned on buying tons of stuff, because even though we were a big class, we lived in a small town with only a couple of stores. Olivia loved shopping, and she had actually researched the area we were going to be around and picked out all the good stores. She even made us a little map. Anyways, when we got to New York, Devin chickened out because his parents were pretty strict and he didn't want to get his phone taken away again. Olivia and I decided he could just give us his money and we'd buy his stuff for him. So he did that, and after they herded everybody off the bus, we kind of lingered back. We were right about them being distracted by everyone else, because we got away no problem. Olivia's map worked out pretty good, and we were gone probably 10 or 20 minutes before shit started getting scary. We had just left the store, and Olivia was carrying her shopping bags when this guy noticed us. It probably wasn't hard to pick us out, 2 little 6th graders walking around alone, carrying a shit ton of clothes. We didn't believe him, of course. We just kept walking to the next door. Only this guy wouldn't stop talking. He started following us now, and getting kind of pissed that we wouldn't answer him. I told him to fuck off, because I thought that he would take a hint. There were tons of people around, and he figured he couldn't really kidnap us in front of 200 people. But he kept following us, and he started getting a lot closer. He had probably been 30 or 40 yards back, where we could barely see him over the other people. But now he was only 15 or 20 feet. That was when we started panicking, because shit, there was a child molester after us and we had no idea where the group was. We decided to split off from the sidewalk and head down into some alley, because we figured people would call out the guy if he started to follow us. But of course, it was New York and everybody else was too wrapped up in their own little problems. So now we're walking down this dark fucking alley and this guy is still after us. He fell a little back, probably back to 30 feet now, but now he's not pretending to be a good guy. He's talking about how he's going to fucking kill us, and how they'll never find our bodies, and how much fun he's going to have with us. And he's smiling this deranged grin the whole time. We're both on the verge of tears now, because we figured this fucking sociopath is about to kill us. Olivia just decides to drop her shit and yells, "Run!" So we both start fucking running, and we're probably around halfway through this alley. But then she turns around, and she fucking screams. So I turn around, and I see this fucking psychopath is running after us now too, and he has a fucking knife. We're both screaming now, and I'm running faster than I ever have before. and we just run out of the alley back into this crowd of people. And as we try to get into this group of people to make sure this guy can't stab us to death, I turn around and he's just standing back in the alley, smiling. And I turn back around and this random lady is asking us what's wrong, because we're both sobbing and Olivia's dress is ripped, and I'm bleeding because my arm scraped the wall, and we're crying so hard we can't talk. As soon as we can actually manage to talk, we tell her our school, and she looks it up and calls them, and we somehow manage to find our group again. We're both forced to stay right next to the teachers because they don't trust us anymore, and honestly, I don't fucking blame them. We didn't tell them about the man though. And as soon as I get home, I'm grounded and my phone is taken away. But still, nobody but me and Olivia knows about that man. School ends a couple of days later and I get my phone back. So I text Olivia and she sends me a picture of our class in front of some important buildings. And she says, "Look in the bottom left corner." And that fucking man is in it. Most hidden behind some wall, but you can still see his face, smiling that deranged grin for the camera. We never really talked about the man again. I didn't want to bring it up, and Olivia didn't either. I'm fucking terrified of cities now though. I like to stick to a couple of towns near me and that's it. There's a lower chance of getting stabbed to death there.